President, my question is to the Minister for Higher Education. Minister, Latrobe University runs the only tertiary modern Greek course in Victoria and is planning to close this modern Greek course forever. This would be a tragedy for a multicultural state like Victoria, for a state that prides itself on its multiculturalism, and I therefore ask, what steps will you take as Minister for Higher Education to ensure that Latrobe University continues its Greek studies program?
Thank you, President, and I thank the member for his question. I am troubled by the cuts at universities in Victoria, whether they be course cuts, funding to different organisations on campus, and indeed, of course, staff cuts as well. Course cuts reduce the choices available to students and can impact negatively on workforce supply and the state's social and cultural life, as you quite accurately point out, Mr Davis. And of course, losing a job is a terrible blow for any worker and their family, and my heart goes out to those who are affected by the variety of announcements that have been made. But with that said, I once again, sorry, I'm a bit puffing from coming into the chamber. Once again, I need to be clear to the House where the state responsibilities are when it comes to universities. Universities are autonomous, self-governing institutions regulated by the Commonwealth. Consequently, the state no longer exercises control over university programs. The legislation reflects this fact. Now, they're not my words, Mr Davis, they're actually the words of Mr Rich Phillips, who in the same speech in this place in 2013 said, "The University Acts give the universities autonomy in relation to their internal governance structures and financial management." So I agree with Mr Rich Phillips. It's not my role to intervene in the operational decisions they make. As we all know, the pandemic has created significant shortfalls in university Commonwealth, in university revenues, particularly due to the fall in international student numbers, and the sector is facing significant job losses as a result of COVID-19. While the primary policy and funding responsibility of universities lies with the Commonwealth, the Andrews government has made unprecedented investment in local universities to protect jobs and to support the state's economic rebound. And this includes the $350 million Higher Education Investment Fund that I have previously outlined to the House. And we did make that contribution, but we won't be pulled into cost-shifting exercises with the Commonwealth. Now, in relation to the proposed cancellation of the Greek language courses at Latrobe, I know that a number of Victorians, including some of my parliamentary colleagues, have been upset by this proposal. As they quite rightly highlighted, Greek Australians have made an enormous contribution to Victoria's vibrant cultural life. For those who don't know already, if you or your constituents are concerned about this proposal,
Minister. Mr David on the supplementary.
President, two aspects of this coming out of the Minister's response, and Mr Rich Phillips reminds me of the government's commitment of money in this budget, and that is, I think, an important point in response. And secondly, you didn't actually say what you would actually do to help with the modern Greek studies program, and perhaps you want to take that on notice. Nonetheless, the university also proposes to close Hindi and Indonesian courses, another blow to Victoria's multicultural foundation. What steps will you take with respect to Hindi and Indonesian studies to ensure that they are not closed?
Minister Tierney.
Thank you, President. And again, I thank the member for his question. What I did in my substantive response was to outline where the responsibilities lie in relation to state and Commonwealth. What my question to you and your party is what are you going to do? Are you going to pick up
Order, Minister. Minister, thank you. Minister. Mr David.
It is not the case that ministers are able to ask the opposition questions in question time. It is the case that the opposition and the non-government parties ask the government questions in question time.
Thank you. Thank you. Order. Thank you. Order. Thank you. Minister, back to the answering, please. Mr. Tini. Mr. Burford on point of order.
Is it not incumbent under our standing orders for members of the opposition to direct their questions to ministers on matters for which the ministers actually have responsibility? Curriculum in universities?
Thank you. Minister Tini, please.
So I pose the rhetorical question, President. I wonder what those over there are going to do in terms of picking up the phone or sending an email to their colleagues in Canberra who are responsible for the funding of universities in this country and actually say, we want a whole range of these courses to continue at Latrobe and other places. No, of course, you hear the silence. You can hear it already. Silence, silence, silence. But I do remind people in this chamber, particularly those over there, as well as others on the crossbench and members of the government, that the university is currently seeking feedback
Thank you, Minister.
on proposals, and I encourage you to get involved.